chemicals to make themselves taste worse.
They know what's going on. They're aware that they're being eaten, but that it doesn't register to them as pain. I don't know how he knows this, but if he's wrong, then, and we care about that, what's left to eat? Salt.
Well, I think you have to make
basically
the assumption that life eats life.
Yeah, and another scientist that I interviewed about this, who does think plants feel pain, says, "Look, it's just a fact of life. We have to eat other species," and he was kind of gruff about that. But anyway, Stefano's idea is that being able to move, take your hand off the hot stove, or run away, then pain is really useful. It's a really important signal. But he also points out that lots of plants like to be eaten. I mean, grasses benefit from being with a ruminant, right? And that regenerates them. They want to be eaten. And then you have all the fruits and nuts seeds that they produce that they want mammals to take away and spread their seeds. So you don't have to worry about going beyond vegan.
No, well, it just seems like a cycle. It seems like an interesting cycle that exists with all living things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you die, right? Plants eat meat. Right?
Yeah.
They consume.
That's right. They're carnivores.
Yeah, that's the thing. They consume all the dead animals that die near them.
Yeah. And fungi.
Yeah, and fungi. Well, that's the other weird things, the mycelium that they use to communicate with under the
Well, that's
ground.
another really interesting case of intelligence in nature, right? I mean, you've probably done shows on this, but the way they use mycelium to send nutrients to their children, or share them in the forest,
allocate resources to certain plants that need them more.
Yeah, and also communicate risk. I mean that there's a threat, and so there are alarm signals that go out. The overall place we're getting to with this, as we look at consciousness and all these other species, is that the world is just a lot more alive than we thought, and that we've been, the whole legacy of the Enlightenment and Western science has been that we have some monopoly on this stuff, and everything else is more or less dead, or we can use it as we wish. But we're seeing, I think we're approaching like a Copernican moment for our species. When Copernicus came along and he said, actually, the Earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. It was like mind-blowing to people that our centrality in the universe we'd been dethroned. And we were dethroned again when, Darwin said we're animals like all the other animals, and we evolved from animals. That blew people's minds too. I think that we're kind of democratizing consciousness, that consciousness is much more extensive than we thought, and the world is more animate than we thought. And that's an old idea. Traditional cultures have always believed that the world is full of spirit, and that you had to respect animals and all living things, and some cultures, rocks also, dead things. So I think we're at this moment of reanimating the world right now, and it's science that's driving it. And I think that's really exciting.
It is exciting, but it's such a paradigm shift in terms of people's perceptions of the world that it's going to be difficult for your average 40-year-old person that works an office job to swallow.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it also makes sense why offices feel so soulless. When you walk into a thing and everything is made out of synthetic material and plastics and metal, and it's all manufactured, and you're under these bullshit lights, and it just feels wrong.
Doesn't feel alive.
No,
it doesn't feel alive at all.
You might be just surrounded by things that don't have consciousness because they've been kind of stuffed into a form and then stuck in place, rather than something that exists that works with the earth. Like soil is alive, right?
Yeah.
So
there's another example. Soil's a lot more alive than we ever realized. We thought it was just dirt,
right?
And now we know that there are a million critters in every teaspoonful.
There's
of soil.
a really cool channel that I follow on YouTube. It's a guy who takes like rainwater or pond water and he puts it in a jar with some plants and he just leaves it there for months. And then he comes back and there's all these living things moving around it. See if you can find that guy on YouTube. It's fascinating.
So I dug a pond, or had a pond dug on my property in Connecticut, and I watched life come to this pond. It's just, it was just a hole with water. And within a month, it was teeming with life. It's just amazing. Like, how does it get there?
Right.
Birds carry a lot of it in, and frogs carry a lot of it in. And I, after a month or two, I looked at it under a microscope, and you couldn't believe it was like a city of critters. It was kind of amazing.
Find like trout on lakes that are like way high in the mountain, and no one ever stocked the lake.
No.
And they're like, okay, how did it get in there? There's all these theories.
Birds pick up eggs and deposit them, I guess, is one way.
Right, but like, how do they get fertilized?
That's a good question. Maybe they're already fertilized.
Do you think? I don't know.
Yes, that's it.
These have lots of views, but
Yeah, that's it.
Wait,
That's
on the
it.
left?
So
find
this-
that specific one.
So this guy, he just takes pond water or lake water or rainwater and he puts it in a jar and then he leaves it there. Yeah, it is. Like, go to like day 60
Where is that? Sorry.
on the top row where it says day 60 to the right. See where it says day 60? Click on that. So he takes these things and then searches them after, X amount of days, and you see all this stuff living in there, all these things swimming around in there. This isn't the same guy, so there must be other guys that do the same thing. But you see these weird little creatures that are floating around in there, and
Yeah, I brought my pond water to a biologist, and he like.
this is
went-
different because this guy's bringing in. He's making an actual aquarium.
Yeah.
The guy that I saw he essentially just figured out how to take a scoop of dirt and whatever is alive that's in that dirt with some muddy water and put it in a jar and put more pond water in there and then just leave it there. And then you see all these weird they look like little crustaceans, weird little shrimp-looking things.
Yeah.
And some of them are killing the other ones, so there's like a real ecosystem in there.
Oh yeah,
Very-
and it's just created like overnight.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So I think that this is like a trend of our times that's really important, that, we went from this idea of the dead world that we could exploit to this other, idea that it's much more animate. And of course that's the default for humans. All traditional cultures believe in animism, basically. It's also the default for kids, right? Kids think